on, son, dig it.
So the first question I like to ask anyone that I'm interviewing is basically how they chose the profession they're in. So why acting? How did you choose it? How did it come into your life?
It's funny because I always grew up singing. I never considered myself really an actor until I went to an art school and I was studying opera and I was going to be this opera singer, but I didn't want to do that. I discovered, and so I transferred to be a theater major and I just started learning and I was like, okay, if I want to do musical theater and be an actor, I need to learn how to act. So I need to pick a really good acting school. So I went to audition for Circle and Square Theater School. And another reason I chose that school in New York is because it was in 2 years. It was a 2-year conservatory, and I wanted to learn everything really fast and just do it because I was just so anxious and was so in love with it. And it was the best fit for me personally. And I moved to New York, did it for 2 years, and did Shakespeare, Chekhov, everything on top of musical theater. So that's how it kind of happened to me later. But I started as a singer, but now transitioned into being an actor as well later.
Yeah. So what was that transition like to come to New York City?
It was awesome and scary, and it was the hardest year of my life because the conservatory did not have dorms, so we had to find our own apartments. I was literally 18 years old moving to New York City, like with, the story, 2 trunks and a dream. That was me. And I remember I got on the bus and I was like, I live on 129th. And he was like, and what? And I was like, there's a Starbucks near it.
One of the things I think that is difficult for someone to figure out when they're first starting out is, okay, so I moved to New York, and do I get a day job? How do I audition? How do I balance that? So how did that work out for you before you started working more regularly?
Right. I got a job my second year in school, so I would go to school during the day, work at night. As the waiter, everyone I think should do that because that's just what you do, unless you're fortunate enough not to have to work. But it just taught me discipline, and it actually made me, the hard work fuels me to work hard so I can get a job, a real professional job, so I wouldn't have to do that. It's tough to balance all of that, but that's, I think, gives you tough skin to last in this business because it's a hard business. So, you work hard for what you want and discipline, and then hopefully when the opportunity hits itself and you're lucky enough to get cast, then it starts to go from there. But it's tough. I mean, I had to get a survival job after Broadway. Things happen. Things don't last. It's a part of our business. So I think if you want to do this business, you just have to be ready to work really hard to do what you got to do to survive. You got to pay the bills.
Right. For someone who is just moving to New York City, what would you say it's like a friend of yours, what would you say are 3 resources that you have found as a performer that have been indispensable to you in the city?
3 resources? Mm-hmm. Ooh. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Wow. My mind first goes to Backstage Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have that if you're just first starting out. I think also knowledge. Like, I read Playbill.com every day. Like, knowing what's out there, what's going on. That kind of coincides with the whole Backstage Magazine, knowing what auditions are there. But you should know what shows are out there, what you're right for, what your type is, and also being ready. Just, take class or audition, and don't be lazy. Just be disciplined. I know a lot of lazy actors that waiting for a job, audition. So that doesn't make sense because they're not going to come knock on your door unless you're Patty LuPone or something.
Yes.
So
or Audra,
those people. Mm-hmm.
In terms of taking class, do you have certain studios that you prefer?
Oh, I took a class with a teacher of mine her name is Sara Lazarus. She is phenomenal. Probably find her on Facebook. She teaches a audition song interpretive class that I think is amazing, and I actually need to go back into that class.
So you did at least one non-ec tour with Hairspray.
Mm-hmm.
What was the transition like from going from non-ec to equity? Was there a transition for you, or was it just like, and now I booked this gig and I have my card?
Right. It was, I booked this gig and now I have my card. And the weird thing, not the weird thing, the transition was when I was auditioning for The Wiz, I was just this kid with one credit on my resume, and they loved me for Scarecrow, but they were a little apprehensive. It's like, this is a big role, you're this kid,
Mm-hmm.
So they really took a chance on me, so I really fought for that role. I auditioned for the Scarecrow about 6 or 7 times, and I just went in there, and I was blessed enough for them to hire me to do the role. But that's basically what happened. I booked a show at City Center, and I got my card through The Wiz playing a principal. So it was a huge, huge deal, and still one of the best times I've ever had on stage. I love that show. I mean, it's The Wiz. Come on.
Yeah, it's a classic. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hands down. But yeah, that was but also, I even noticed, like, the last contract I did with the Book of Mormon, like, I was just talking to a friend of mine who did a non-equity tour, who's now on an equity tour. Like, I did the whole share seat on the bus, that Croswell bus. You know that bus.
Yes, I do. Sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the seats.
Right.
Yes.
But get this, on a production contract with the Mormon, you get a quiet bus and you get a loud bus. So there's 2 big old buses for like 20 people. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God.
What has your experience been with Scottsboro Boys between when you first started with it to now?
This has been the greatest gift, because not many actors can say they originated a role or collaborated with the creatives to build a whole show. So I was there for the reading of it as I was doing this The Wiz in 2009. And then when I left Jersey Boys to do Scottsboro Boys, we did 4 weeks. Basically, we workshopped it and built the show. Susan Sherman had the skeleton of it, but then we just kind of added the flesh to it.
Yeah.
So it was great, like taking lines out, putting them in, trying this, trying that, and being there the first time an audience sees the musical for the first time. Like, I'll never forget that. You never, because you don't know what you have until you get an audience. And
right.
Yeah. And so that experience was just out of this world, and we were welcomed with so much love from the community, and the Candor and Ed family is just amazing, and Stroman family, all the actors that came in to support us, and friends. It was just amazing, and I'm so blessed because I got to do it in 3, now 4 different productions of it, so I've been able to keep working on it, because I love to keep working on something, especially something like this. I will say now, doing it in LA, taking a break from it, I feel like because it was my first Broadway show, because there was, I guess, this pressure, because it was a new show, that pressure is no longer there, so I think I feel a little more free now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm having a lot of more fun, and I'm a little older, so I'm not going like, well, I hope they like me. I hope that, I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm going to do my thing, do my show, and if you like it, great. If you don't, fine with me. It's just, it feels good to kind of, I think that's just maturity, know. And I'm not trying to say like I've got it all figured out anyway, but, that kind of weight that I had on myself is kind of gone. So I'm just really enjoying myself. And I did before, don't get me wrong, but there was a little bit of the, like,
Yeah.
But and the LA audiences have been great here. We're having a great time.
So for you, in terms of dealing with such a heavy topic nightly, how is that for you, and how do you balance that and just make sure as an actor that you can stay in a good place?
Something wonderful that Stroman has set up for all the companies is really making sure the company takes care of each other, check in with each other, whether it be a hug or just touch or just check in with eye to eye. So we really do check in with each other. One of my favorite parts of the show is looking at people, because you find the most sincere reactions to the show, and I love doing something where everyone takes it very differently, you know, something from like the Book of Mormon, which is a juggernaut of a show, and it's so funny and amazing. Everyone's like, yeah! And with this show, people are like, I don't like it, or oh my god, or shocked, or just tear. You know, it's insane. It's beautiful at what it is, actually. So we're very fortunate.
And I feel like I can ask this now because it's clear that the Scottsboro Boys has had a life post-Broadway. But initially, when you found out that the show was closing and you were going through that, what was that like for you and the rest of the cast and creative team to experience?
I mean, no one ever wants to hear their shows closing. It wasn't expected. Mm-hmm. We weren't walking up here like, did you hear that room? Like, no one knew. We found out 2 weeks prior to us closing, and it was right before the holidays. It was in the winter. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie, but it happens. And I remember I asked Deborah Monk on our closing party. I said, "You've been through this. Like, what do you do?" And she said, "You just go through it. You know, you mourn it and you move on. And you wake up one morning and find out you have 12 Tony nominations, the most of a closed show ever in theater history." So then you get back, you know what I mean? It's such a ride. And then you find out, oh, it's going to Philly. Oh, it's going to LA. Now it's going to London. You know, then it's just like, this is so beautiful. So it's with anything that Susan Sherman always says, it's a miracle for any musical to be birthed. And it's a miracle that we got on Broadway, that we got off Broadway, the Guthrie, LA, the Amundsen Theater, this huge house, and it's selling extremely well. It's going to London in the fall. Like, that's incredible. Some shows die after an off-Broadway run or an out-of-town or Broadway, and it's continuing, and people are loving it. So that's a huge gift. So the good always outweighs the bad.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. That's awesome. For arts and color readers, specifically those on the West Coast, how can people get tickets? How long is the show running? Give us all of that sort of information.
If there's hot tickets available, which is like $20, then there's a code going around, I think, for another week or two. The code is TRAIN. You can get a discount for orchestra seats and mezzanine. We're here through June 30th. We are having a great time. We're killing it every night. Come see us. And I think those hot tickets are same day. So there's $20, nothing. So come see the show. I will play to the balcony, I swear to you. But we're having a great time. So tell people to get. A lot of black people have been coming to the show, or people of color, should I say. It's just great to see an audience. So I'm loving that. This blog and everything you're doing, this is so needed and so great.
Thank you. That's awesome. 2 more questions. So the first one is, of course, because it's called Arts and Color, I have to ask you, as a performer of color, what does that mean to you, and how does that influence your work, your life?
When you say that, I think of my grandmother, who unfortunately is no longer with us. She was a teacher, and she helped raise me along with my mother, but she really instilled in me ever since I was little with greatness. And she always said, you know, you're going to always have to work harder than the person next to you because it's going to be harder. So for me, being an actor of color means a great responsibility because I've always got to do 10 times more than the guy next to me because I am an actor of color. And there are not many opportunities as much as there are for the guy next to me. So that just instills in me greatness. So I always work really hard with whatever I'm doing to make sure that I'm representing not only myself, but my people in the best form possible. So to me, it's a responsibility because we're not just representing the show we're in, we're representing our race.
Yeah.
You know, watching the Tonys this weekend, I was just like, yes, because we were just killing it. I mean, that really means something that all of them won that night. You don't see that ever. So, and I know some of them personally, and I know their stories. So seeing them win is just a beautiful, beautiful thing because they're winning for all of us. And So that's what that means to me, but which is a great thing. And
for Arts and Color readers, are there ways that they can stay in contact with you, follow you, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media you're on?
Oh, yeah. I'm on the Facebook, Christian Dante White. I'm on the Twitter at Dante Christian, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the Instagram, Christian Dante. It's just my name, either or.
Yeah.
But that's the best way to keep in contact with me. And I try to post positive things, or, hey, I'm at the gym or having coffee, things that people want to know.
Yeah.
So
yes.
please stay in contact with me. But yeah, that's the best, like Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Like today, I tweeted today that we were doing this interview, but I didn't tweet yesterday.
Okay. So. Nice. And let's see. Is there anything else that you think you'd like to add, either about Scottsboro Boys, about yourself, that you think the readers or listeners should know?
Well, to keep supporting us, like not only Scottsboro Boys, but just new work that's out there. Go buy a ticket, see the show, experience the show, and yeah, that's what I would say. Support theater and movies. If you see, go see a movie. Go out and support. Because people are out there working, but it doesn't work unless people come and support and see it. And
agreed.
That's what I want for people to do, and also to support each other more. Careful what you say, and like we're very quick to judge, I find, and I think we need to start supporting each other a little bit more, be a little more positive. I know sometimes I might not think this performance was the greatest thing in the whole wide world, but I'm like, but the brothers up there doing it, or the sisters up there doing it, it's a beautiful thing. So I just want us to start, encourage each other a little bit more, because they're opening a door for you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
She might not have sung it the way you want her to sing it, but you know what? She's up there singing it, so you might be able to get up there and sing it or do it one day.
Right.
So that's what I would, I guess, close with. And follow me, and I'll be in London in the fall with the show.
Yay.
And maybe we'll do an interview from London.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Awesome. All right.
Thank
you so much.
Of
Have
course.
a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.